This is Ezekiel Lewis. You know I got soul.
Cool. I just want to start off. Can you kind of just talk about how you got your start as a writer? I know one of your earlier placements was for Luther Vandross.
That was one of my earlier placements, but my first, I would say, big placement was on Pink's first album.
Okay.
And it was a record called "Do What You Do," which I actually co-wrote with a group at that time called PA.
Okay.
And PA, still for Parental Advisory, they were actually the first group in the Dungeon family. And the Dungeon family, of course, we know now consists of PA, but also consists of Outkast and City Mob and all of them. So PA was actually Kawan Prather, who's now, an A&R, career A&R, and a good friend of mine. And so I got my start with them.
Cool.
TLC. We're gonna act like TLC and Pink.
Okay, cool.
Right after that, I think came the Luther Vandross placement. Of course, there was other things in between, but some of them weren't as big. But Luther Vandross was another big one for sure.
Cool. And then eventually you linked up with a bunch of other writers to form the Clutch. So how did that all come together?
Well, we're skipping Trey Songz. The initial Trey Songz there.
Yeah.
Troy Taylor and I got together and we did, we were writing demos for this kid, kid Trey from Virginia who would come up to Teaneck, New Jersey and do demos with us. And, from those sessions, came a record deal for Trey and his first album, which was I Gotta Make It. Yeah. And I co-wrote probably at least 6 or 7 songs on that album as well. I can't remember how many, but definitely at least it was at least 6. And have really been involved from a writing perspective on every Trey album, with the exception of maybe one.
Yeah.
Even till up to this day, even the current one, Trigger.
Yeah.
So that being said, then after the Trey era came the Clutch. Where, a couple of publishing companies, I think at the time I was still signed to L.A. Reid, Hipco Music Publishing at the time.
Yep.
And there was a young lady there named Philan who, was working with us, and we linked up with some writers from Universal, where Ethiopia was a publisher. They set up these writing trips. Co-sponsored by Sony Music, and once again, here comes KP again, because like I said, I started with him, so we already had a relationship. And he was an A&R at Sony at the time, and they wanted to do these writer camps where they pick select writers from a couple of publishing companies and flew them out to work on different projects. And they I guess I was one of the people that they picked from the LA Reid from the Hipco side, and there was some picked from the Universal side, and we all went to Miami, and there was other writers there, but the Clutch, as it stands, the Clutch, the people who ended up being in the Clutch, we all connected, on a creative level, on a higher level. So we just kind of stuck with each other throughout the whole trip, and we just wrote a lot of records together. And I think out of that week, we may have written 7 records, and I think 6 of them got placed out of the 7. So we knew we had something special.
Nice.
And we decided to, I think the next one we did another one again, and from those sessions came, Take Me As I Am, which was the #1 R&B record on Mary J. Blige. It's a record that I co-wrote with Carrie Hilson and Candace Nelson.
Yeah, cool. And can you kind of take me through the writing process for the Clutch, because that's so many members, so many people writing one song. So what was that process like, and what would you say your role was in that process?
I think that's the first biggest. I think that may have been a bit of a misconception. The Clutch was a brand.
Okay.
So the Clutch, it didn't mean that we all wrote on the same song. Whether it may have been credited as the Clutch, but sometimes, for example, like I said, Take Me As I Am was just me and Carrie and Candace.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the whole Clutch, and even on on Icebox, that was me and Carrie and JQ.
Yeah.
Or on Like a Boy, it was me and Balewa and Candace. So it didn't always. It wasn't all. It actually was very rarely the whole Clutch writing on one song. It's very rarely. I think there was one song where that happened, which was like a Jennifer Lopez record, which was really early in the process that we did.
Wrong When You're Going?
But Wrong When You're Gone, there you go.
Yeah, cool.
Yep. And I think even that one still left the label off on that one, so even that one wasn't everybody. But that was like the one where the most of us wrote on one record at one time.
Okay, cool. So, you guys had so many songs in that time period. Is there a song that stands out to you as, maybe your favorite?
My favorite. I really love Take Me As I Am for how we, really channeled Mary and, and executed. But I really love what, it's kind of like, this is kind of, we credited this record that we did. It was really post-Clutch, to be honest, but we still, Balewa and I still credit it, because I think after the Clutch stopped, we started pairing off and doing different things, but Balewa and I wrote a record for Justin Bieber called One Less Lonely Girl.
Yep.
And we also produced that record. And that record, that was a special record because I really love the wordplay on that record, and I love what that record did and how big it became from a standpoint of branding. And the phrase was used on everything from Justin Bieber's merch to his. He had a One Less Lonely Girl nail polish line. It was in his movie. It was a big record. I really enjoyed creating that record, and I also enjoyed the success of that record.
Cool. One of the songs that stood out to me during that time was Store Run by Trey Songz, just how creative it was.
Oh, yeah. Store Run. That's a great record. That's a great record.
Yep. And it seemed like a lot of the records that you guys were putting out during that era, they were fan favorites, and, they were very creative, but they didn't necessarily translate into single success. Was that frustrating for you?
I think there was a good balance of some success meets fan favorites. I think we had some critically acclaimed records, and then we also had some, some single successes like Take Me As I Am and Like a Boy and Icebox. They were successful, certified platinum singles. So I can't say we didn't have some, because we certainly did have some. But we also had, I think what it was is the quantity of records that we put out.
Yeah.
We had so many records placed in different places that you saw us a lot. So it was probably hard to balance what was actually a certified platinum or above single versus what was just an album cut but people loved anyway. What mattered to us mostly was just that we were doing our best work, and that people, you could appreciate it. It was really more about that. It wasn't about, we didn't do it for, commercial success. I mean, it was we definitely enjoyed that, and that's a part of what we have to do to survive. But at the same time, what was really important was that creatively we had done what we thought was the best thing for the song.
Cool. And one of the members of the Clutch, of course, is Carrie Hilson. So you worked with her earlier on. So did you kind of see that potential in her to be a single artist or a solo artist?
Absolutely. Carrie actually was already signed as an artist when we formed the Clutch, okay. but the project was, hadn't been. I guess at that point it wasn't moving, and it definitely began to move after we started the Clutch. So definitely always saw her as a superstar, and saw her potential, and still very much so. We're still very good friends, and looking forward to her next. By the way, her next album, her next project is amazing.
Okay. Cool.
It's really amazing. She got some great stuff on this new album, so I'm definitely looking forward to her coming back out. It's great.
We'll definitely talk about that in a sec, but I just wanted to go back to you. After the Clutch, you started doing your own thing. What was that transition like for you? Because you mentioned with the Clutch you guys had so many placements going on, so what was the transition like afterwards?
Afterwards, like I said, I think afterwards started right at the point of, I guess the first placement post-Clutch would have been the Justin Bieber One Less Lonely Girl record, but once again, we still credited that as the Clutch.
Yeah.
We began to develop, I started developing acts. I did the next Trey Songz album on my own, which was, I think at that point, what was it? Was it the Passion, Pain, and Pleasure album?
Yeah.
Where I co-wrote Unusual featuring Drake, which was a top 5 R&B record.
I think it was Ready. Maybe.
No, it wasn't Ready. Ready came out while I was still in the Clutch.
Okay, yeah, the one after that. Yeah.
The one after. So after the Clutch, I did Passion, Pain, and Pleasure. I did One Less Lonely Girl for Justin Bieber, then I did Passion, Pain, and Pleasure for Trey, where I did the Unusual record, which was a top 5 R&B record. And then after that, he put an EP out, Inevitable, where I co-wrote, I think, pretty much every song on that EP.
Yep.
Which preceded his Chapter 5 record. But on that Inevitable EP, we had another top 5 R&B record, which was Sex Ain't Better Than Love. So, you know, I ended up locking in with Trey again really, really heavily, and we had a lot of success, you know.
Right. And now moving forward,
It was fun because that was fun because it was kind of a full circle kind of thing. It was like, you know, we started and we were able to come back.
Yeah.
To have the same chemistry, actually have the chart success. So that was really fun.
Yep. And along with the songwriting aspect, you're also managing, and you're kind of in an A&R type of role now. So how do you like that kind of position versus being a music producer?
I don't like, you know, any one over the other. I'm just a creative person first, and then I'm an executive. So you know, I guess with all the time I spend in the business, of course, I'm very well versed in the business, and so, you know, it only made sense for me to use that. We went and Troy and I developed Kevin Ross. Yep. And I took him and got him a deal here at Motown, and we did a partnership between Motown and Verve, and it's been great, man. We put together a really great EP that we're really excited about, and his album that's going to come after that point is absolutely amazing. So I'm really looking forward. He's a really great talent.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned that you and Troy kind of started with Trey Songz, and now you guys are working with Kevin Ross. Do you kind of see any similarities between the two, or just talk about that a little bit?
Definitely, I don't think they're similar at all as artists. I think they're both, you know, equally great. I think Kevin's different in that he's a pianist.
Okay.
He's an instrumentalist, and he's also you know, just a great vocalist all around. I think what would set him apart from a Trey is his instrument, you know.
Yeah.
But they're both great, and you know, as a matter of fact, Kevin actually ended up co-writing some records on this new Trey album. He co-wrote, I think, 4 songs on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And along with that, of course, you're still doing the songwriting thing. So, what kind of projects can we expect from you coming up?
Right now, it's the primary focus is you know, I'm vice president of A&R at Motown. So my primary focus right now is I definitely will pick and choose the right projects to write on, and I'll always work with Trey. And I'll always work, you know, there's certain people who I will always work with and have an affinity towards, but right now it's all systems go on this on the executive front to push out new acts, you know, acts like Mila J, Kevin Ross. You know, we're working on this next Neo album, and a lot of other great projects on the horizon. James Davis is a group we just signed, and Rich White Ladies.
Yep.
A lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff.
Okay. And earlier you were mentioning Carrie Hilson's project. Have you had a chance to work on that project at all?
No, just you know what? Just as a friend and just a fan, I've just been privy to the music, and you know, being able to stop by the studio and build and listen, because you know we're all one family. Yep. We all work with each other. So between her, Trey, you know, I always be privy to that stuff, and I just really enjoy the process going forward. But I haven't worked on it personally from a writer perspective. I've really been busy on the executive front lately. So.
Okay. And lastly, you know, as a fan of music, we're always curious about an artist's or a producer or a writer's creative process. So kind of take me through your creative process as a writer.
Creative process, it would vary
yeah.
from project to project and song to song. I mean, sometimes it starts, you know, back in the day, a lot of times it would start with me plucking around on the guitar or on the keys, coming up with a melody idea, and then maybe writing that way. Then it evolved into sometimes other people would be doing the music, and I would write to the track, or you know, come up with the melody and then fill in with the lyrics. It all depends. Every process is different. Every song is its own creation and has its own way it wants to be birthed into the world. So it kind of like happens the way it decides it wants to happen. To be honest, there's no one way.